but you've actually then tripled the distance depth-wise from that first 40 k's. Oh, sorry. And then the next thing is from that 280 to 500 metres is only about another 5 or 6k. In some areas there's only another 2k. Like off Tweed Heads, you go less than 2k, you've gained another 200 or 300 metres. So it's very quick. How many people here from Brisbane area? Okay, so about half nearly. And from Tweed Heads or south? A few of you. Okay, so you guys are luckier down there. Not the guys up in Brisbane, but the guys down that way. So you guys can be 20 k's in 100 metres, and 40 k's you're well over. You can't fish that depth. So a lot closer for you guys. Different limits, different laws on keeping fish. Until recently, deep dropping, like maybe just the last 8 years, deep dropping species, deep dropping limits, there was no limits. The Queensland didn't really recognise deep water species. But then recently they've been getting more onto it, and they're putting limits on different things, different species. But just make sure you know what you're doing there as well. Then he has, as I said before, 280, about now 400 and 500 to 500 metres. That's sort of like the holy grail of your bigger fish. So you're talking bass groper, blue eye, barcod, of course, gemfish, and a few more exotic type deep water fish, raised bream, that sort of stuff. So from there, we have fished out in 800 metres on Mixed Mountain. Out here's about 78k run out, straight east, pretty well, a bit slightly north. Lost baits, never caught a fish there. Do you need to go that deep? No, you don't. And I'd probably stop at 500 metres or 550. Okay? Yeah, unless you're a commercial deep dropper or something. Any commercial guys here tonight? I'm happy to hear that. See that? Oh, I get stressed when I tell info. Anyhow, so I've been doing this for about since before 2000. So I've always game fished early in that time. Saw lots of good structure on the bottom. Decided to give it a crack. We used to fish with a 30 wide with Dacron. There was no braid back in the 90s sort of thing. Not good braid in lengths anyhow. And we fished with 80-pound Dacron, 1,000 metres on a 30 wide, just fit on at about 800 metres. And we fished out in around Jigging Mountain and Riviera Grounds off the Gold Coast here. And catch blue eye. We used to catch blue eye by hand, very, very hard. If you didn't get a fish on, it still took you an hour to wind the sinker up. Very hard work. How many people here want to do this manually in 500 metres? Can we give it a crack? I'll take my hat off to you. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, that's all by hand?
Yeah,
and what?
Fought a sword for like 7 hours and lost it 100 metres under the boat.
Oh, wow. Okay. So swordfish is another thing which we've hooked them. I haven't landed one yet, that's myself, but we haven't been intentionally really set up, rigged up for them. I guess like, everyone's like me, they want to catch a swordfish out here, right? And you're in the right grounds to do it. So it's just a matter of doing the right rig for that. It's probably another seminar we do another time. They're good eating though. And I've got guys that come in here that specialise in it and they do well. They get at least 2 swords every time they go out. Okay? But you just got to know what you're doing.
Are they here today?
No. And they're probably throwing rocks at me through that video recorder right now. Did they? Yeah.
Then go back the next day.
And did it again?
On game, caught one,
Yes.
and then had another one smashed in half by a sword in the surface.
Oh, is that correct? Wow. Yeah, wow. So, yeah, so swords are a different animal again. We've hooked one down off Tweed Canyons once. It was a big fish because the line was grazed about 2 metres up above it as well. So it had obviously a long sword on it. But the branch we had was only 200 pounds and it snapped the branch off the main line. Main line's 300. We're fishing for blue eye. It was a really good fish. And actually, coincidentally, we still got a 20 kilo blue eye down below it. But it just broke the branch off. Yeah. So they're there. And I've been on long line boats here back in the early 90s. And we were catching fish trunks up to 200 kilos. So they're out here. It's just putting time in. But we'll do that another time because we've got a lot to talk about tonight on our general fishing. So I'm going to start now in 120 metres, 100 to 120 metres. So can I have a show of hands boats under 5 metres here? I'm very happy to see that too. Okay, safety is paramount. Although I must say, when I fished down Tweedheads Way, it's the only place I've seen guys out with big electric reels out of 4.5 metre tinnies. But it is closer, okay? It's like fishing the 50 fathoms or 36 fathoms out the front of you. But yeah, I've seen it. And yeah, you can do it. But you really need a boat that's probably around 6 metres or bigger, and you really need to have fuel capacity to enable you to do 200 k's for the day. So whether you take out extra jerry cans or whatever you may do is important to understand your fuel usage. The next thing you need to know is understanding weather, and weather is really important. And this time of the year we get westerly winds. Great in close, you'll fish with a snapper in close, it's all nice, but out there it's quite ugly. So what might be 10 knots on the 18s is 20 knots on the 36s, and out in 150 metres or 200 metres, it's probably blowing 25 knots. Comes over the mountain range, with this big mountain range here, and it comes over and eventually meets up with the sea really bad out in that area. And when you go to the westerly, it's always nice going with it out there, but when you stop and turn around, they're like breakers right in your face. So be really careful, please. Okay. Anything over 15 knot westerly, we don't deep drop. Southerly's okay. Oh, it's still dangerous, but not as bad as westerly. Okay. The other thing to be careful of is later in the season, not now, but around October, November, because by that time you guys should be up to speed and catching flamies and everything, hopefully. But at that time of year we get as the current starts to come in, and if you've got a 20 knot southerly blowing and it's running 2.5 knots to the south, it forms like pressure waves which break on the top, and sometimes you get a metre of white water on the top breaking down the swell from the south against the current running that way against it. So just remember that if you've got current and you've got swell over 2 metres and 20 knots of wind, or 15, even 15, just be careful, please. That's dangerous as well. That's about it on the boat safety side of things. And know what your boat can do, and try. Unfortunately, some boats do broach, and when you're coming back side on to in that sort of scenario, sometimes boats will broach down the swell and dig in. It's a bit scary. Cats sometimes do it too, so just be careful on that one too. Okay, back to 120 metres. So pearl perch. This is the time of year we get our best pearlies. So sort of May, June, July. They'll go right through the year, but this is our prime time. Please remember your bag limit on pearl perch is 4 per person. Unlike snapper, which has like an 8 bag limit per boat, pearlies are unlimited with the amount of people on the boat. So you've got 10 people, you keep 40 pearlies. Does that make sense? Okay, they're 38 centimetres, and you have to remember that they do shrink. So if you've got a 40 centimetre pearlie, when you catch it, it'll be cracking maybe just over 38 by the time if a fishery's ever checked your inside. So they do shrink about 5% of their length, on all fish actually, but pearlies are the main drama. So when I'm fishing for pearl perch, look, I'll use a rod and reel, whether it be a Beastmaster 9000 or a Dye or whatever, in this calibre in electrics. I'll also use a smaller one, like a little 300 or 500, which is a lot more easier to use. I'll show you the gear first, then I'll show you how to do it, which is that sort of size. These are great fun because you can actually stick it under your arm and fish at the same time. They still hold 400 metres of sort of 50-pound braid, which is all you need for pearlies. Okay, sinker size we're using the heaviest you can get away with. So pearlies don't care about sinker size, and nor does the electric reel. You're not fishing manually, so don't worry about trying to be light. Go heavy. The more heavy it is, the more it sits on the bottom, the more slack you can have on your line, and that pattern luster works much better in that scenario. So if you've got it taut and drifting a bit out the back with a lighter sinker on it, nowhere near the same amount of fish. So it's one of the only species that the heavy doesn't really care, doesn't come into the effect of pissing the fish off and making it harder to catch them. So use heavy. What I suggest, if you're fishing 100 metres, I'd be probably using a 16 or 20 ounce minimum on pearlies, okay? Even a kilo, it's fine. Even on that little rod, it's fine. Push the button, it comes up. Easy. If you're doing it manually though, say using something like this type of rig here, which I do as well on the pearlies. It's a Loadshed Jigger 2000 on a little venom rod. Great fun. It's going to pee you off, but not the fish. So just a bit harder work winding it up, okay? but still works, still fish with a heavy sinker rather than a lighter sinker for pearlies. Pearlies are very hard to catch on float lining. Very hard to catch on float lining. Snapper easy. Pearlies different. They love pattern stuff. They love that line sort of there, a little bit tight, but this part loose in between. So that'll make sense. Yep. Okay. If you're using spin reel, look, I'd probably use around about an 8,000 or a 10,000 size spin reel for pearlies because you're using the big sinker. You don't want to use 5,000 or 6,000 little one and finesse. It's not the go. Rig, look, there are a lot of different rigs, and I try to use a 3-hook rig or 2-hook rig minimum when I'm pattern oyster fishing for pearl perch. I prefer to use dressed hooks. I really like dressed hooks. So what I mean by that is I'll just grab one of these out and show you. So these are ones we do. They're reasonably priced as well, and they work really well. Sorry, I'll undo it and pass it around. Childproof. So it comes like that, okay? And when you undo one of them, it has like a little 2-hook rig. Now I actually joined 2 of these together, I cheat. So the reason being, our objective is to get a few fish because you don't get many chances. This is why bottom fishing is so good out in the deep water. You don't get the opportunity to go there every weekend because the weather just beats you, the current beats you, whatever it may be. So we try and go hard when we do go. So what we'll do, we always do pearlies first on the way out, and we try and bag out in our pearlies, and then we go bottom fishing, deep dropping further. So first port of call is about 100 to 130 metres on the pearly spots, which I'll talk about to you on the GPS marks later today. And honestly, at the moment, if you know where you are and you find the right spot and find some wireweed, 2 drifts, 2 or 3 people on the boat, you've bagged out already. That's how quick they mount up. Especially if you're running 3 or 4 hooks. 2 hooks is okay, still good fun. And pearl perch tastes great, as we all know. So I'll pass that around like that. Thank you, sir. So this type of rig here, and this is just a rig you can make up yourself. Swivel on the top. This is 80 pound. This is actually fluorocarbon, but 80 pound branch. 80 pound main. I think it's 50 pound branch, which is plenty. But you can see that's a circle hook and it's dressed. Okay. Dressed means this stuff here hanging off it. Pearl perch really like it. Okay. I don't know why, but they do. And we're all learning that this is a sort of go at the moment. On the bottom down here is a loop, which you obviously put your 1.5 or 2 pound sinker on. And if you want to use it with 4 hooks, you just cut one of those, not the wrong one though, one of these little loops, just cut it here, sorry. And then tie that onto the same rig again at the swivel end. And you've got that on the bottom of that one, right? So you've got 4 hooks. Why do you use 4 hooks? Well, if you're manually fishing and you don't have an electric, it's a lot easier just to miss a fish, get a bite, get a fish on, maybe get another fish on the 3rd hook, if you're lucky enough to get 3 on, and wind up, rather than have 2 hooks or 1 hook and get a bite and miss it, and then miss it, and have to wind all the way up again by hand. Electric, it's not too bad though.
Is that baited, Dad?
Yeah, it is baited, correct. Bait's the next thing. So the best bait I like to use for pearlies is squid and pillies. Mullet fillets are not too bad. And I've found this, particularly in our area here, mullet fillets seem to work really well over 200 metres. Okay? Inside of 200 metres, you'll get bites. They work everywhere else around Australia, in the north and that, whatever. But I find out here that they just seem to not work as good as pilchards and squid. So, and I do with all my circle hooks is I cut a pilly in half and I put it through the eye of the pilchard, then I just put a piece of squid on. I hang a piece of squid down. So the eye's just through the hook, nowhere else on the pilchard, hanging down. And I've got a piece of squid cut about that size. Yes?
Small octopus any good?
Yeah, small octopus is good too, mate. The tentacles are really good. They do the same sort of thing as this. So if you don't have dressed hooks, ockies are really good, squid's really good, squid head. So if I'm going to do that, I may not use the pilchard. I may put it on other hooks though, but I'll put it through the body and put the head on last, so the head and the tentacles are hanging down at at the bottom. So through the body, twice if it's a bigger body. The ockies are generally small, right? So unless you cut it, the big one strips. Yeah, they are good. So fillets are better though. That's different to mullet fillets. Hard to explain that one. But they just seem to work really good. Natural bait, I guess, mate, in the area. Yeah. But mullet aren't natural out in 280 or 500 metres, but they work really well up there. Yeah.
Is any of that luminescent?
On this one, no, it's not. But they obviously can still see that moving around. Yeah. On this rig, not on this rig, no. But I'm going to show you something in a minute. That is. So that's the rig. That's what I like to use a lot. But if you're going to make up your own, you've got hooks in there that I think they're 5.0s, I think they are. Or 7.0, sorry, the 7.0s. The 7.0 in your bag is like a packet like that sort of thing there. That's what we do with our pearly rigs. We make them up in this configuration at the moment, I'll show you. And they work really well on the pearl perch. And they're not dressed, but if you use Luno paraphernalia around them, they really work well on the pearlies. And one of those things is this skirt here, these little tiny skirts. I'll pass these around. These things glow blue. Now, there's a difference between glow blue and glow green on all your deep drop species. Blue really turns them on for some reason. You can also get glow blue beads as well, but we just didn't use the green type beads, okay? If you put those in your hand, they won't need to be charged up actually. Switch on here somewhere. This is why I need Stewie, but he's not here yet. He's coming, I guess. Sorry, is there a little switch through there? Thanks, mate. That's it. That's on, yep. So this is actually, you can see the UV enhanced. So if that wasn't UV enhanced, they'd just look white with the light on it, but they're blue. And so just charge them up. But we also use UV leader. Okay, we make our own rigs up. We use UV leader. I'll pass that around. You can see the big line blue, I think, mate. So if I've got normal leader, can you see that? So you can see the green's UV, right? But the lead on that packet's not. And if you see this one here, it's UV. Can you see the difference in the line? So we don't see it. We can't see that difference like that, but they can see that. And it seems to get them going. So getting back to what you were saying before, that's the better rig to use. So we sell lots of these for pearl perch. They're not cheap because they take us about 20 minutes to make one. But they're about 23 bucks or something like that, 25 bucks. I'll pass that around too. Yeah. So UV's a great thing to use. So if you don't have a dress hook and you've got any glow stuff, whether it be tube or glow beads or glow UV line, that'll be enough to get the pearlies into that like crazy mode, okay? Has anyone ever tried that yet before? No? Yeah, I know Peter has. Yeah, it's a game changer, okay? So that's the first thing I want to teach you about. So keep your hook size, pearls got big mouths, they've got huge mouths. So keep your hook size at about 8.0 probably as the largest size, down to about 5.0s, and make sure they're always circle hooks. So any of our deep drop rigs, we're not using J-style hooks, they're all circle hooks. It needs to be self-catching. Using a great big lead, it'll be 3 kilos or half a kilo. The line is taut, the mains line's taut, but the branches are quite loose and they need to be able to hook themselves. When they bite it on the bait, the circle hook will hook around and hook them inside the mouth. And you never miss. So you don't need to strike as much. And a lot of the time when you deep drop fishing, your line will hit the bottom, and because it's going down so fast, you literally can't catch it as it hits the bottom. You've got to take up the slack, because we'll pull a bit of slack off. And by the time you pull up that slack, the rod's already on there. It's bouncing.
Fishing right on the bottom.
Fishing right on the bottom, mate, yeah. So I never, like, pearlies are an animal that they'll be in the wireweed, okay, they'll be hiding. And the first drift you go through, you might see a couple of little fish on the sounder. Second drift you come through, all of a sudden there's fish on the sounder above the wireweed. And if you drop pearlies, they talk, like I keep telling every time we do a seminar, they are really good talkers. So they'll tell their mates, get out of here, don't touch it, it's a setup. Okay, serious, they do. So if your mate drops a burley, bash him, because you're not going to get in the next drift. Okay, yeah, sorry, mate.
So how far are you fishing up off the bottom?
I'm fishing on the bottom, mate. So it
Fingers on the bottom.
yep.
Use them.
Oh, okay, good question. Pretty close, mate. So you don't want to try and get caught too much in the Y-weed. So most of the Y-weed, courtesy of my friend Steve, that's Y-weed. Okay, I'll pass this around. Please don't break it. But that's what we're up against on the small spectrum. So this stuff can grow from the floor up to it this long, for 2 meters, probably about the biggest piece I've ever pulled up. And it's their home. They live in amongst it. And once you get them stirred up, they'll come out of it, and they might even go up to 6 meters off the bottom, 10 meters off the bottom, but they'll come down to your bait that's dragging through that Y-weed. They'll come down and feed.
So they get snagged in a lot.
Oh, you do. You get snagged, but you pull it through.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So, because we're not. Oh, if I was using the lighter outfit there, it may be a bit hard sometimes to pop it. But when you use an 80 or 100 pound braid or 80 pound leader, most of the time you'll sort of be stuck and you think, oh, I've got the bottom, and all of a sudden I'll just let go. Or you pull a piece of this up. Yeah. Thank you. So, has anyone ever found Y-weed on their sounder? Do you know what it looks like, how it is? No? Yeah, some of you might know. Real quickly, sounder. I'll let the guys on the side over here look in a minute. I'll just show the first part. So when you're sounding along and you've started here and say it's 0 to 120 metres, and that's 100 metres, 80, 60, 40, 20, 0, a little bit out of scale. We're in about 95 metres here, and we're just looking for Y-weed. We're going down past 100, and then all of a sudden you just might see a little tiny bit of green or yellow fuzz on that side there, right? As it's going down. So when I see that, I'll mark it straight away. I'll mark it, and then I'll go back on that depth. So that's about 110 meters, and now I'm on this depth here, and I've gone back, and I'm now running north-south instead of east-west, west-east. Sorry. Is Stewie coming though? Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going along, and all of a sudden that Y-weed will start to appear on the bottom, like so, and then I'll taper off. There might be a bit of a gap here. So you still at the bottom, of course, under here, like so, okay? So then at that same time, you should be zoomed in, looking in between this sort of area here. So we're looking now between, say, that's 100, so around 90 to 120 metres, and the bottom's at, so that's 90, 100, 110, 120. So that bottom, taper it down a little bit, will now look like, that same scenario will now look like this, quite big. So it's around about 1.5 metres tall, maybe. Little gap there, maybe a bit on the bottom, like so. Same scenario, okay? And then there may be the odd fish you can see, but you can't see much there. There might have been one little dot here, a little dot there, and a couple of dots there, maybe there. But those fellas will still come up around here like this. Those fellas over here. But you'll now start to see a couple of dots in here, a little bit. Okay, that's the first drift. The second drift, this will actually just become more apparent. They just seem to come out. Not all the time, but most of the times. And then the third drift, they'll still be there, but they might not bite because your mate's dropped a couple of fish, or you dropped a couple of fish. Does that make sense? Stewie knows, because we do this all the time.
Yeah.
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 And third drift, that's probably about it. So
Usually Dougie's the one that loses them.
hence why we've got a cauliflower ear. But the important part is, so this is the sounder. Now we're going to look at the GPS side of it. This is for the pearl perch. It's a similar scenario for your other fish too, by the way. Oop. It is off and on, mate, and it's actually even on the 24s in certain areas. If you can find a wireweed spot, you've got the honey hole of your area. It's the best. Seriously, it is the best fishing spot you can find in amongst all of our pinnacles and reefs and everything. If you find wireweed, okay. So it doesn't matter if it's in 24 fathoms, 36s, 50s, or it. I haven't pulled it up over about 140 metres. I don't know if anyone here has, but I haven't.
Is there any other species in there?
Yeah, there's heaps of. There's all your snapper and lots of Samson, kingies, amberjacks. Definitely pigfish hang with the pearlies. Big piggies too. That's a lot of pigfish.
Is that the eastern or southern pigfish?
Good question there.
I don't know, they're red and they've got a black spot on them.
And they've got lips that go out like that. Yeah, I think it's the eastern, I think. And we also get nannies in there, and we'll also get gold spot wrasse as well. Yeah. So on your GPS, so let's just imagine that first spot. So now we're drifting, this is north. I always have north up. Please learn to use your GPS north up. It's a lot harder than go around circles. Some people just can't get it though. But so north-south. So that spot we had before was we're heading north, okay? So we started at south. So our line was like there. And the mark that had the wireweed on it, the first area was marked here, and the second area was marked here. So leave lots of lines, leave all your track lines until your GPS runs out of track points. Leave them on the sounder, okay? One day when you think you might need to have a clean up, be careful, because if you delete some track, you might delete other areas as well. But I leave mine on until it runs out. So my track this particular day is that we've done our drive over and saw just those few fish, right? My first time over was going up north and like this sort of area here. But the winds may be blowing from the north, and there's a tiny bit of current running 0.6 of a knot to the south. So I'm just going to do a U-ey here and hopefully drift down over that area. And we've got now, say, 3 pearlies, and we hope the next run, the second run's always normally the best, is really good. So what we do is I go out wide, and sometimes I might find some more wireweed. When I go wide means like about 300 metres to the east or west, or 400 metres, a little way away. And I'll steam back up. So I don't like driving back up too many times with my sounder over the spot. And I'll come back up to the top here again, and I'll pull up here. I might just go a little bit, just 10 or 15 metres to the west of that last drift. And I'll come down again. And then this time I'm starting to see more and more pearlies on the sounder. And we haven't dropped any yet. Oh, actually, let's say we did drop one. And so I'll go back up again, and I'll go back around again, and I might start again. But this time, it's not biting. They're on the sounder everywhere, but they're really annoying because they're not biting. Stewie's jigging away, trying to get one. I'm bait fishing, whatever it may be. At this point, I get down here, I think, okay, what are we going to do? So what I'll do then is I'll maybe go this side, and I'll go back up a bit closer and try and find if there's any wireweed, and I might mark a spot there and another spot here. And then we'll then turn around and do a drift down that side this time and give that side a bit of a rest. It might be 100 metres to the west of me. And so on. And I know that when I've got that sort of wind blowing, that's the way I'm going to be drifting each drift. But next time I go out and the wind's now blowing from the west, that's going to be useless to me, right? But these two areas, this area here, or maybe if we get a bit of a northwest drift, that area there is going to be not too bad. So what I'll do then is, I might have a different track colour, whatever it may be. I've come up, I've gone to here, and I've sounded into the wind, like across here like this, into the wind. And I've found, Oh, there's a bit more wireweed here, so I've marked on the fish there. Then I'll do the exact same scenario again. So now here, and I'm drifting back this way. That's the way the current's taking me and the wind's taking me back over those couple of marks. And there's nothing here, so I'll go back around, I'll go wide again, and then I'll come over this side a little bit, and I'll do a drift down over this mark now. I'm going to get this mark here.
Are you using drift sites to slow yourself down?
No, so that's a good question too. Yes and no. We don't use it much, but I have used it many, many, many times in the past. If you are good at deploying it and bringing it in, I definitely recommend it because it does slow your drift down probably by about a knot or more. Really, really good if you've got, say, 15 plus blowing. Under 15 knots, I'd rather drift and go a bit faster, back up a little bit, back up, back up. So in this scenario here, say, go back to another plotter here. It's not a good one. So everyone got that? Just actually, I'll just use this one again. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Yep, cool. So let's just go back to the bottom now. So it's full screen now, and that's the bottom. We've got still 110 metres, whatever it is, and we still get our wireweed. So let's just say we're drifting up top here. This is the boat here. And that's the motor on the back. And actually, I'll move that, sorry. I'll move it to over here. So we're in that position there, and our lines are on a bit of an angle down like that, okay? And we're drifting that way. So when we get to, I see that, then I start to see fish start to come up. At about this point here, I have the motors going all the time. I'll then maybe just reverse back a little bit to bring our lines down, straight down vertical, or even go past the boat a little bit in front of the boat. You're just going to get bites straight away at that point. And by the time you get the fish up, the boat's now in this little bit of no man's land sitting about here, right? So pull the fish up, and I think, okay, drop the lines down again, guys. So by the time the lines hit the bottom around here somewhere, the boat may be here. Depends on how big your sinkers are. And our lines are now on a bit of an angle like that. So I'll sacrifice the guys on the boat fishing by having their lines out a bit, if they're using maybe not heavy enough sinker to keep it vertical. And by the time the boat gets to about here, I'll reverse it back, and that line should be now right there where the fish are. Does that make sense? So bring the boat back to the line, and keeping it so it's just slack. So you need to have your line. It's like, I don't know if you guys have fish with bent butts. You're just fishing out of the rod holder, and you're just taking the slack up, take the slack up, take the slack up till it's just off and on. The rod's loading up, unloading. That's when you get the bites, especially when it drops slack for a sec. If you're by hand, you take up slack. The boat's still going to reverse a little bit, only very, very slow. Don't do it too fast. And you've got to watch the lines around the props. Really important. And tell your mates to keep their rods away from the prop. Okay, and it's all about timing. But if you can back your boat up there, the line's vertically right on the fish, you're just going to get bites straight away if they're biting. And then you do the same. You hopefully get a fish up, because that's a bit longer this time. The boat might be about here, and our lines are down. Like finally hit the bottom here. We pulled up this fish here, pulled this fish here, and at this point here, I'll quickly back the boat back up to here again, so the line's straight down again. And try and get one more hit on it before we drift on the sand. So does that all make sense? Okay, cool.
Do these things like lazy fishermen? If you just drag your sinker along the bottom,
Yeah.
in and out of patches the whole time, you still
Yeah, still catch.
always still.
You will, but your line gets out a bit too fast, so you've got to still back up anyhow, or wind it up and drop back down again.
That's the next question. If you got a real big one
Yep.
at the bottom,
Yep.
are they shy of that, or?
No, not at all. No, the more vertical is the better. Yeah, there's a bit of
Mentioned jigging though.
jigging. Yeah, so jigging. So we're not going to do jigging tonight so much, but we tend to use the Canis jigs for pearlies. They work the best of every jig. and we're using around 120 to 150 grams. The thing I just did a trip over to Montebello's last week, got back yesterday, and we were catching fish in sort of deep water. We had maybe 30 knots of wind, and we was on a charter, so you're going to fish anyhow regardless. And we ended up doing something I've never done before, was we put the Lacanus jigs with the line through the centre, and the jig, your hook rigs are attached below that, okay? And then it sort of goes up to the ball, to the Lacanus ball. We use the 150s, but what we done was we took cut the rig off the other one and just put two balls together, so it's 300 grams, smashed it. I've never done that before, running two together. Works so good. So now when we go out there and do pearlies, and we've always been undergun because it's hard to find anything over 150 grams in the Lacanus jig, now we can do that method and catch them. Because they're great fun on light gear doing that. So if you're going to jig for pearlies, slow pitch is not too bad as well. It does work all right. But Lacanus is best by far.
Yeah.
And they love it. The big ones just love it. Yeah, in that depth, yeah. All good? Okay, so we've...
Can you
Sorry.
sit on them with the electric?
You can. So as long as the current's not too strong. So as we always say too, electrics are great for wind. If you've got wind and not much current, it holds you on the spot against the drifting on the wind. But when you've got current, your lines are out the back. In saying that, though, I've had some really good catches in strong current at anchor. The same, whether it be anchor or spot lock. But pearlies are a different animal. They don't really care about that. They just want you to keep drifting vertical. So it's probably one of the species where if you don't have any current and you're on a good wire patch, I'd definitely give it a crack. But if you've got a bit of current, I'd rather drift. Yeah. That's about right. So Stewie, I'll just run through the paternoster rigs, mate. Sinker size doesn't matter.
Yep.
And we've talked about rods and reels. So is there any questions on the pearl perch at all? Okay.
It's always on the flat, obviously.
Yeah, it is, mate. It's on that edge. You've got to find it on that edge. But when you're going from west to east down the slope, you'll find it. Just a tiny bit of fuzz, and then go back around and then run north-south along as far as you can up into it. And when it stops, then you stop and drift back. Yeah. And if your wind's a little bit off centre and you're going from, instead of going north-south, you're going northwest to southeast, you may need to go up the hill a little bit looking for the wire weed as well. And mark as much as you can on your screen. My screen should be like a cluster, you know what.
What's the best way to find that for your first time going?
Yeah, so there is wire weed, generally speaking, between very heavily in most areas, between about 94 and 112 metres. So.
Is it good to start?
And it's only about a K. So if you zigzag east-west, running north in that, you'll come across that.
Head north and just zigzag.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, but you've got marks in there. Actually, I'll do the marks as we go along. Something different.
So it's on that ledge. 100 metre mark.
So the ledge we fish for the kings is inside about 3 Ks. Oh, you didn't get one? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Stu. I don't know if you got a pen. I don't have 40 pens. But if you can think of this number in your head, you need to be in that 90 to 120 metre mark. That's the honey hole, okay? 94 to about 118 is the super honey hole. Narrow it down a little bit more, so you're going a bit more east and west and shorten it down. But if you're off the Gold Coast, I'll put my specs on for a sec. The really good areas on here are where it says under 150 metres deep. Generally anything there, actually anything on there. They're all good spots. You'll see that number on where it says 153, like 43, and then you go down the bottom, it's 153, 48. So that's actually varied 5 miles further east. It's because our coastline is shaped like this. So as you go further north, it's in closer. And as you get down Tweed Heads, it's not dead straight, the contour. It's actually on an angle northwest to southeast sort of thing. So that's why it's still the same depth, but you're actually a lot further out to sea.
So I'm guessing the intent of these markers is to figure out the depth and what it looks like, and then
That's right. when you get used to it, you can look at it anywhere and say, I know where I am. In those numbers.
But use what you're seeing on the sounder and then
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So you correlate with lots of icons, mate. Lots of icons. Yeah. So I know it looks like a lot of numbers, but when you put this all into your GPS, it will become very like the lines of the pearlies. So, and the lines of the flamies and the lines of the barcode. And as you progress further out, as we talk about tonight, each of those species will come up. So wherever it says under 150 metres, whether it be off the Gold Coast or off Moreton, those numbers, when you start punching them, they'll all be inside 150 metres, okay? And when you put them all in, you'll see where you are. So the only thing you need to do is understand the latitude. The latitude is the one that runs east to west. So if you're up around 2642, you're probably up Mooloolaba or somewhere, I think, or maybe that way.
And 28 would be down Tweed.
28's down Tweed, correct, mate. 2812's down Tweed. So, and the Gold Coast is, the Seaway's 2756 and Jump Pin's about 2743. So once you get those numbers in your head, you'll know then where you are along the coastline. Just takes practice, okay?
Have you got any warranty for the 26 area?
I don't, but I can send you some. So the 26, actually there is, so down further south. So where it says those, has anyone fished the containers of Moreton yet at all? The pearlies? Good area. So yeah, there's 5 or 6 there for that as well. They're good pearl perch spots too.
bought the electric one and up from that, it's a pain.
Yeah, it helps. And then you've got some more down below that as well. So you've actually got quite a lot of marks there off Moreton for pearlies and North Stratty. Okay, so I think that's what add on the pearl perch, do we?
No, I don't
No,
think so, yeah.
No. Okay. Has everyone got pearl perch clued up? Yep. Pirate jigs are okay too, but not as good as the Canis. The Canis are by far the best. Yep.
Touch on that. What sort of jig is that?
So I haven't got octo jig, exactly right, mate. Yeah, so ball with a big eye on it and 120 grams is what we try and get away with. Yeah, they're good. You had luck with them? Yeah, they just jump on. So you can actually fish with the electric and put one of those in the rod hole if you want. And it's always on a bit of an angle. That's where it becomes a different animal to the big sinkers. Takes away everything I just said, because it's never, we try and fish vertical, but if it's on about the angle, out the back a little bit of an angle, it still catches pearlies. They must come up to it or something, I don't know. Yeah, but we try and use fairly light line like PE2 or PE3, which is about 40 or 50 pounds braid.
So you rulers still apply for using winches?
Yeah, so for pearl perch, you'd be using the paternoster with a big sinker.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. They'll jump on there. Yeah, as long as you present your baits nicely and the right size hook, whatever. The only other thing I can stipulate for pearl is you cannot wind them up too fast on the electric. They will spin off and you'll lose them. And they're the ones that tell their mates don't bite. And pearlies have a really uncanny habit of flicking off the hook, especially one about 65, 70 centimetre, one like a monster, right at the top. Okay, so you're stressed, you think, oh, I should lift it. No, I won't lift it. I'll go get a net or a gaff. Bad move. Just lift it in, okay?
Don't they float from that depth?
No, they go straight back down. They've got like turbo power. They hit the nitrous. They hit the nitrous button and go. They are fast, man, and they have no floating on the belly up sort of thing. They're as healthy as with no down the bottom, straight back down again. So they're the ones you don't want to go back down because they're totally mates. Okay, next area. So next area. So look. I found spots, but I haven't caught pearlies yet. But we've got customers that get about 160 and 180 metres, and they've got big eyes. They obviously go deep, but I have not yet sort of nailed them in that sort of depth. But if you want to, when you're travelling out, if you've got a good sounder with a good 1 kilowatt transducer or 2 kilowatts, you will find a lot of ground in that 160, 180 metre before you get to the flame snapper, sort of 240, 250, 280 metre. So if you see those marks, mark them and go and check them out one day when the current's not too bad, because they'll generally be pretty tight, small areas. Okay, could be a shipwreck, I don't know, whatever it may be. There'll be fish on there. So then we sort of work out in around that 230 metres is probably about the shallowest you get flame snapper, and 280 is their honey hole, what they really like. And we're using the same scenario, we're using that same rig that went around actually in the bag. That's our favourite rig to use for flame snapper as well. It's a 130 pound main line and 130 pound branch in the UV. But that rig you've got in your bag, you got one of these rigs, it's perfect for flamies as well. Actually works on pearlies too, by the way. Okay. So my suggestion would be to, again, look at these marks here, but look in that 240 to 280 metre mark for flame snapper. Okay. I have not found them east of the seaway. I've been straight out from the seaway. I haven't found them out there yet. We get most of ours from Jumping Pin up to, or particularly up around Point Lookout area. So it's about a 70k run. You're only about 30, 40 k's off the shoreline, but it's a run up. And we get them, I haven't got them yet. But I've told customers that go to these spots which I've marked before down a Tweed, and which are on here, and they smash them. But I haven't, every time I go to Tweed, I want to go and catch blue eye. So I drive over the top of them on the way out. So we tend to be northeast, okay? For those of you from Brisbane, you have better flames areas up your area. So up off Moreton's extremely good, and from South Passage Bar up to Caloundra is a really good area, okay? Lots more grounds in that depth. If you're from Tweed Heads, as I said, they get them down there, they do really well off Brunswick, all the way down to Byron, down to Ballina. So again, 280 metres is the honey hole, 260, 280. Lots of ground. It just at the front here is a bit barren. So we've got to go that way, not that way. Okay. So for the flamies, we're catching other species at the same time. We catch snapper out to 300 metres. Same snapper getting close, but they taste better. They normally have a black belly on the underside. It's got like mud in the scales, if that makes sense. A little bit different, but they taste really good because it's a lot colder down that depth. So they're like a southern snapper, so to speak. We also get kingies. Kingies are thick out there, and their average size is about 6 to 10 kilos, and they'll jump on with a flame snapper on your line. And they're if you're into sashimi, they're the best because they're very fatty because it's colder water again. So anything in that colder water is really nice eating. We also get pigfish in that depth as well. You get moong. You get all your normals as well. Yes, coming to them. So we still get green eyes in about 230, 240 with them as well, but they tend to be more in that 280 to 400 metre mark. That's the green eye country. Yeah. So green eyes are like a shark. They call them, they're actually not a shark because they've got hard bone spikes. Sharks don't have bone, these do. And they have a bone on their dorsal and a bone spike down halfway between the dorsal and the tail, which when you try, you got to grab them on the gills, the only place you can get them without them impaling you, but still the odd one can spin around and impale you with his back spine into your forearm here. But they're not poisoned. I've been done a few times, but never been poisoned from them. But they are really who eats flake? They're angry. If you eat flake, they're the nicest eating flake you'll ever get because they're deep water.
What was this again?
Sorry, mate. The green eye sharks. Yeah. Yeah. You get. Look, I'll keep. I don't know what the law is on them, right? Because they're not really a shark. They're dogfish. That's what they're commonly called around the world. They're the most prolific shark type thing in the ocean. Okay, they like the locust of the bottom. How's that sound? There are so many of them. Okay, and we have spots we go to. We don't get. You can get one.
Yeah. And
we'll smash the flamies and we'll catch everything else, and then we'll go out 2Ks to the next spot, and it's, as you said, mate, it's just 3 at a time. And they're so aggressive, they just jump on your line real quick. They're suicidal. Correct. With the same teeth. Yeah, but they eat better than grinner. Look, I don't know if there's a limit. Theoretically, we have to keep 1 shark per boat, right? So are these a shark? That's for the fisheries dance. I don't think they would care on that one. But yeah, we always keep a few. Yeah, and sometimes they're quite big. Sorry, mate.
Do you ever use them as cut bait?
Yeah, I do. So it's payback because I learned. One time I kept a couple quite decent size, and when I filtered them, they like had chunk sizes of bark cod inside their gut, with the skin still on it and thick flesh like that. And so I believe they pack hunt the bark cod, right? And then they just go like piranhas and eat it. So then I put on them as bait. I cut the strips up in the bait, dropped it down, and I caught bark cod on them. So yeah, so it was a payback, and it worked really well. I didn't catch any sharks on the shark. Okay, yeah, but it wasn't as good as the mullet fillets. And if you put a mullet fillet on, you still catch the shark on the mullet fillet. Yeah, but anyhow, so how do we find we've been chasing flamies now. It took me about 14 years to find them. So one of my customers, Russell Gage, is a real good fisher, goes up the reef every year in a big boat, and they fish a male and they bottom fish up there, and he gets lots of flamies up there, right? Off Cairns and Port Douglas. And he showed me these photos of these flamies, and I said, oh, up the reef again, Russell, well done. No, it's the Gold Coast. This is about 1998, right? And I said, nah. And I didn't really take note of him. And then about 2008, I think it was, we started to go looking for them, and we couldn't find them. He said, all he told me was 280 metres deep off Point Lookout, right? Our sounders back then were not too bad. So we went looking, and we found some grounds, and we dropped down. But we were using, well, I didn't know about how big their mouths were, right? And we were using like 12 or 15 circle hooks, and we caught heaps of cod, heaps of bar cod. And so we kept going for bar cod. Then one day we were pearly fishing about 2014 or 16, probably around then. And we've been inside at 120 metres off, sort of halfway up North Stradbroke. Great pearl grounds there as well. They're probably in here, I'll show you later. And we're catching pearl perch. And we went out and we went to our bar cod spot. And I had the pearly rig on. I thought I'll just drop it down here. So I dropped it down, and the rod went like that and didn't load up too much. So I wound it up, didn't know what it was. And then sort of flame snapper come up because I was using little hooks. And I thought, oh my gosh, you got to be joking me. So then we switched to doing that technique, and we'll catch them all size flamies for the next few years. And then in a game comp, well, I wasn't fishing a game comp this time, another guy was, and he sprung us on his radar. I saw him trolling about 2 k's out from us. And the next time we were out there, he was on there. And then the whole world went and done it all. And that was about probably 2014 or 16. But since then, we thought that was the only flamey spot. But we've now got about 20 flamey spots that we catch. There's flamies everywhere. And that's just in that area. They're everywhere. So, and now people have found them off Moreton and up further and down further south. So you just need to go looking. That's what I'm getting at before, but earlier I said right at the start, look for new grounds all the time. And you find those new grounds and you will just absolutely nail it because it's probably untouched. Okay? And the advent of release shading on your Navionics app, on your phone or on your sounder, if you haven't got the release shading, I know it's $80, it's the cheapest version of getting it rather than spending $400 or $500 on a card for your GPS. Get the Navionics boating app on your phone, $89 a year. It has full release shading, okay? And you can see every little contour. And when you're going along, we would go say between 280 and 400 or 500 metres. The contours would be slow and gradual, and we think, oh, there's nothing there. We're just doing 25 knots out to the deeper grounds to go chase blue eye. And then when the advent of the release shading came out a couple of years ago, all of a sudden there's these black spots everywhere between where we were normally going, which never come up on the contour lines. And now we go to those black spots, and sure enough, it goes from like, might go from 280, 300, and then all of a sudden it'll drop down to 360, and then come back up to 340. There's a little ravine in there, drop down, we catch everything, including flame snapper and barcode and whatever it might be. So try those spots on your GPS, on your app, okay, if you got it. So does anyone here not have Navionics app at all? I suggest getting it. Okay, it saves a lot of fuel too, because you can spend a lot of time out there looking like we used to do years ago, sounding around, chuck lures out, whatever. But now you just get straight to the spot, and it always works. You're watching a sound, you're watching your GPS go up to that little black spot, next one just goes dunk, and there'll be fish there, you know. So, getting back to the flame snapper though, we're using the exact same rigs I said before, bait changes though. So I still use the pilchard as, half pilchard as the burley, so to speak. So when they bite on the mullet fillet, they crush the pilchard and it goes everywhere, is how I perceive it. And then their mates come in and they grab another bait, okay? If you get a cod on and it's quite strong, it's bending like that, try and hold off for the second one, because they'll actually vomit up their food and their mates come in and eat that and they grab your bait as well. They get two of them, okay? It's another little trick. I fished a pro out there quite a fair bit, and we found a lot of new grounds, and we learned how to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the tag and rod, if you don't mind, Stuart, with the plays on it.
Yep.
So this is the sort of, you can still use that little handheld one out there, right? Out to 280 metres, that's fine. That little one right there, Stuart, right?
Yep.
And catch flamies on that, good fun. So it's like micro jigging, so to speak, in the deep, but we're using obviously a rig on it. But this is sort of like, this is a Plays 4000 Shimano and tag and deep drop rod. This is a really good outfit up to about 400 metres. Okay, so it's strong enough to catch everything you're going to catch. It will struggle with a big bass groper on it though, but bar cod, flamies, kingies, no problem. Holds 600 metres at 80 pounds, so it's got enough braid as well. That's that style, and then that's in Shimano. Then in Daiwa, this is their alternative, sort of similar. So you've got a, again, similar type rod, and we've got a 750 Shimano, Daiwa, sorry, Tenacom on there, and it holds exactly pretty well the same line. Holds about 550.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit less of 80. But again, that's this starting point to do the job okay for flamies. And because you're dropping down, you're catching like it can be a 1 kilo flamey that's only 50 centimetres long, or it can be 1.3 metres and 10 kilos or 12 kilo flamey. You don't know. It's a mix. It's like snapper fishing. But at the same time, you can get a 30 kilo bar cod on your rock line, or a 10 kilo kingy.
How many batteries do you take out?
Not many. One.
One?
One.
Alright.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute
Work
too.
all day?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah. So that's the two outfits sort of thing. We'll talk about price those later. But that's if you got something in that scenario or bigger, that's perfect. Okay. No, not at all. It's obviously a bit more cumbersome or whatever, and it's hard sometimes to see the tip. But they're aggressive. They'll bite. You see, even on the heaviest of rods, I got one rod with a big Mia on it, and it's like that at the end, but I still see pearlies biting on it. Yeah, sometimes we go out wide and the current's too strong, so we come back in and hit the pearlies on the way back, and that's the only rod I got because I was going to go deep for the day. Yeah, still catch pearlies on it. It's got a 120 pound braid on it. Yeah, still works. And I put a 2 kilo sinker on it for the pearlies. Yeah. So bait, when you rig your bait up, short hook this one. So, sorry, I'll leave it that size now. I'll go a bit smaller. A little bit like that. So what I do, the pilchard, I'll hang down here. And it's cut there, and that's.
Don't bother the tail.
Nah, I don't use the tail. I'll still put it on sometimes if I run out of heads. Yeah, it spins a bit, whatever. This is much better. And then the mullet fillet I cut about the size of 2 fingers. Okay, so a mullet fillet is normally about that size, and the depth is perfect on most mullet fillets. So you just cut like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the tail piece, use that as a tail piece. So 5 baits out of a average mullet fillet. And then the mullet fillet, I just go through it once. That's the secret. Guys, thread it on, chock up their hook, and it's very hard then for the fish to hook up on a circle hook. It needs to be well exposed, and they'll try and rip it off, but they'll hook themselves up trying to do that. So the mullet fillets here, not this big mullet fillet, just use it on the colour. So the mullet fillets here, it's just through there once. So I'm using a tail piece. I'll put it at that end. It might just sit like that as it's pilchard, and that's the tail piece. And I've just gone through that end part there, and it's just flapping.
So you don't use a big boat?
Oh, it's no, not monstrous baits. No, that's enough. The only time I use big baits is when I go a bit deeper. I might throw something like that thing there onto the top of my snap, and I'll use a half a mullet fillet for a cod, big cod. And these are pretty strong hooks. I'll pass it around too. Stu, you want to add anything there, that one?
No, I think as you said, Dougie, this, like you can use squid and stuff like that as well.
Yeah,
It holds
squid's
on
okay
there, not
too.
too bad.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is, as you said, don't overcrowd your hook. If you overcrowd it, it spins a lot on the way down, and your rigs will tangle on the way down as well. But yeah, you just want to keep it nice and compact.
And I find with squid, the sharks like squid. Okay, so I'll try and keep them away as much as you can. Yeah, so that's it. And then our rig, so that rig that went around earlier, at the top of that, I didn't bring one up actually, but you got them in your bags, but I put a light on the snap swivel. So we use at this stage now, we're now using a wind-on leader on the end of our rig. So we're using 100 pound for the enclosed. So when at deep water, I might use up to 150 or 200, but 100 is what we like to use. So 100 pound wind-on leader. We do a little dobble at the end of our braid, a little bimini twist, a little dobble on it, and then there's a little loop on the end of the wind-on leader. We can show you downstairs how to do it. And we pull it through a few times, and then pull it tight so the 2 knots end up like that. And then so it's direct from your braid to your 100 pound leader, and then we crimp a snap swivel on the end, a big snap which you've got in your bag as well, size 7. We crimp that onto the bottom, and then before we put on our rig, we put on a flashing light, a strobe. Actually, I don't like to use the flashing lights as much. I like to use the fixed blue light because it lights up my UV light better, rig better. Okay. So does that make a difference? Mentally, yes. As in reality, yeah, I think it does. It does. So I remember one time we were out there, Tim was smashing it. Then I realised I didn't have a light on my line.
Yeah.
I forgot to put it on. And I couldn't work out why he's beating me. And I think you were too, Stu. Yeah. So.
Is the FG connection straight to leader okay as well?
It can be fine. That's fine. Perfect. Perfect. Want to do good FGs. Yeah. So that works. Yeah. If you don't want to use wind-ons, you've got wind-ons in your bag there as well. But if you don't want to use it, you can do an FG. But I recommend using probably about 100 to 120 pound leader. You've got 100 pound leader in there as well, and it's quite abrasion resistant, that one. So that leader's got to be around about 4 metres long. Okay, why is it 4 metres long? Because braid doesn't have much stretch. It's a long way down, and these fish have got big mouths. Not so much the flame is reasonable, but not too big. But pearlies do, and obviously cod do, and they spin on the way up. So you want a bit of stretch to take that, doesn't rip the hook out. And then when you get fish close to the boat, your rod's out there a bit. You want to be able to grab the line, pull the leader in, pull the fish in, and then gaff them or whatever you may do.
So the bimini's fine on braid?
Yep, perfect. Yeah, do around about 20 to 30 twists before you rip it down. Yeah.
So is that bimini to what, sorry?
So make a loop on the end of your braid, and then on your wind-on leader, there's a little loop on the end. You thread the braid through the little loop, and then pull it through. Don't undo Don't undo the wind on leader. Yeah, keep it. It's got little blue things around it. Keep it all intact, and just drop it through your loop you made on your bimini. Even mount 4 times is enough, and then when you cinch it down, make sure you help it down, way down to the end, not over the end.
Do you do 2 wraps through? the
I'll do
pipe?
4 wraps through.
4 wraps.
Yeah, 2 each side, sort of in and out, sort of thing. Or you could do a sister. What do you call it?
Yeah,
Cat's paw, that's the word. Yeah,
that's the
twisted
right
sister
one.
cat's paw. That works fine too. So we've got our rig, we've got our bait on there, and our sinker size, again, use as big as you can. If you can get away with 1 kilo, that's fine. If there's not much current or much wind, 1 kilo is good because it's easy and quick. But if you've got a little bit of wind or whatever, 2 kilos probably to go in about that 280, 300 metre mark. Okay. Back it up.
On with these marks.
Yep.
Are you dropping a couple of minutes before
Yeah,
you
so
or you get over the mark?
good question. So I see a lot of people come up and they just drop their line straight down unless they know exactly marked on their GPS where they should start. I normally have a start mark and an end mark, but the wind changes every time and so does the current, right? So what we do is we do a blind drift. So I don't drive over the top of the reef first. I'll just go to the left a bit, 300 metres away, 200 metres away, and pull back to neutral, make sure I'm in neutral, and then we'll just drift while we get everything ready, bait up our hooks, everything ready to deploy, and then I look at my GPS. I make sure it's at least 2 or 3 minutes, because that's generally how long it takes to get down to the bottom with even the 2 kilo lead on. It takes nearly 2 minutes in 300 metres, so. And then I'll calculate how far I drifted in those 2 minutes and which way I drifted, on what angle. Then I'll go then over the spot and then work out where the fish are, mark them as I'm going up over the top of it, and check it my old icons I got on the screen, and then I'll overshoot at that distance, and then drop. And then as you drop, by the time you get near the bottom, by that time you're about sort of, because you got little counters on your reels. Yeah, so you can't count the colours. You don't need to count colours on electric reels. It does it for you. And it would be, you'd probably drop 50. You're thinking 280, it's actually 230. You'll skip 50 or add 50 metres. But when it's about 20 metres off the bottom, at that point, I'll then back the boat up. And by the time it hits the bottom, it's ready, it's right down beside the boat. And if they're there, it's wham bam straight away. If they're not there, I'll hit the bottom, I'll just take up a little bit of slack on the electric, but even if it's by hand, we can push the lever up and just take a bit of slack up. But I'll make sure that my rod's loaded, and on the swell goes down, it's unloaded. On the bottom, yep. And then it's always got to be a little bit slack. And then the boys will say, because their line's now gone from here to that angle, they'll say, back the boat up, please, Doug. So I'll back up a bit. And I'm looking at my screen, I'll see the fish coming up. I'll say, no, hang on, this has got a bit longer, guys. Another 10 metres, otherwise we're going to miss the spot. We might move that way a bit, you know. Because every time you back up, you never back up straight. It's always pulling you away a bit from the current line you want to be on. So you have to calculate that into effect as well. And then we'll back up, and next to the rods will go ding, 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 and then they're on. Yeah. Okay. Mark, every time you get a bite, mark your screen. You see a patch of fish come up, mark your screen. It should be, like I said, it's like everywhere on your screen. And if you want to do colours for months, so it might be a red colour in June, it might be yellow in July, you'll know next year what, as long as you write it down, you'll remember where you were at that time and what the drift was and that sort of stuff.
What were your hook sizes again, sorry?
For flamies, yeah, around about 7/0s to 9/0s in circle. Now, the different brand of hooks have different sizing too, by the way. Some brands, a 9/0 in a mustard, for example, is tiny. It's about the size of like a 5/0. And other brands that are 9/0 is like the size of in a mustard, about a 13/0. So look at the size of the hook and you'll learn what's the right size is regardless of what it says on the packet. Okay, yeah. Okay, but that hook that's on there, which is actually, that is a real 9/0. That's a 9/0 in your bag, okay? So remember that size, and that's the size you want for flamies. whether it be, it might be a 7 or another brand. Yeah. Okay, so we've got our lines baited up, we've dropped down, we've hooked the fish up. Now when the fish are coming up, don't go too fast on the accelerator. Just get the speed right, okay? If you see a shark up its backside, then yeah, go hard on the accelerator, get to the top. If you're getting hit halfway up by sharks, then you've got to take the chance and go fast all the way up from the bottom next time. Other than anything else to do on that one?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Sharks are a big issue out there.
no, they're not. No, they're not as bad as they are in under 100 metres deep. Sharks' worst area is probably 100 to 20 metres deep is the worst shark area.
We've found that if they come off the hook on the way up, because you come too quick, if you just wait
Yep.
and
They'll-
then wait a bit, you'll often service them and you just go around and net them. And they take a while to come to, they don't go straight
I
away.
was hoping to be fishing next to these guys and scoop up their fish when they weren't looking. You just told them one now, I tell you. Yeah, that's true. So they will, especially cod, and some flamies do too. They come belly up. So if you drop a fish, say in the last 60 metres, say on the way up, it's coming up and it's like, then it just goes. You think, crap, I just lost my fish. Just keep an eye out the back, especially a little bit of wind and whatever. Remember how far you drifted, and that's roughly it's going to come up in that time, and you'll just see it floating belly up. I'd probably, if your mate's up at the same time, probably make the effort of going netting it and getting it in the boat or gaffing it. If you're going to gaff flamies, look, anything up to about 4 kilos, you can probably lift it into the boat. Anything over 4 kilos, I'd probably use a smaller gaff, like a mackerel gaff, that you can get around the head area and hook them in and pull them into the boat. No one's asked yet about how long do you make your leader for your sinker. So it depends on how good you want to look after your boat. So if you've got a 2 kilo sinker clinging pretty close to the last fish you just pulled up and it's bang on the side of the boat, we're trying to get the fish out of the boat, it'll scratch your boat pretty bad. So my suggestion is to run about 1.5 meters and maybe even wear gloves of some type, because to lift that sinker in is quite awkward, especially if you've got 3 kilos on. So that'll save you hands. You've got to actually do wraps on it. You get 2 wraps on it to lift it in, because it just won't work. You're not strong enough to do it. Sounds like only 2 kilos is easy, but it's not that easy. Yeah. Does that make sense? All good? So if you want to make your own rigs up for the flamies, on that rig you'll see there's swivels on there. There's swivels on swivels. 2 types that you can get. You get a swivel on swivel, and you get, this one here, mate, yeah, a pipe swivel. So the pipe swivel is the easiest way to do it. So what they are, let's say the 100-pound leader, you stretch it out maybe 3 metres long, and you put a swivel on either end. But before you do that, you put on 3 of these things, if you want to do this 3-hook rig. So 3 of these things, swivel either end crimped, or you can tie it. 100-pound you can still tie. And then what we do is because it's quite thick, 100-pound line's about, I'll probably be around about 1 to 1.2 mil, 1 mil on average. These are 2.3, so you cut off little sacrifice pieces about 1 inch long or 25, 30 mil long, and you put another piece in that little bit of pipe. You'll understand when I pass it around, and that becomes like just a cushion effect. So when you crimp it onto your main line, it's 2 pieces together locked in. If you just crimp it directly to the one piece of 100 pound, you're actually flattening the line and damaging the line. Does that make sense? So you've got to use a little sacrifice piece in it. So to make your own rigs up, it takes time, as I was saying before. So you've got to make the branch then as well. So the branch line up there, so we space these about 1 metre apart, because the fish are 1 metre long, right? Cod's 1.2 metres long. They're going to be slapping each other on the way up. So what we'll do is the branch line will make that about 500 mil. Well, at the start, by the time you tie it or crimp it all up, it's about probably 350 long. Okay. Then on the branch line, we're using tube. Whether it be like on your rig, you've got this type of thing here. You can buy those, right? Which go onto the hooks, and that's Lumo. Or you can buy tubes like this sort of stuff here, which is pre-cut.
Do you do the pearly ones longer than the deep water ones?
Same. Yeah, I try and keep a branch at about 300. the 500 max, like that sort of thing there. And you put that on, that goes on to closest to the swivel rig, and then you'll put on a bead, and the last thing you put on, whether it be that little white skirt went around, or a bigger skirt like that, or whatever it may be. You've got skirts in your rigs, in your bags as well. The skirt goes on last above the hook. Okay? Does it all make sense? Okay. And so you crimp it all up, and you can buy a set of crimpers for about $25 or something. We got them cheap downstairs, $30. And then make that rig up. So, but to make that rig up would probably cost you around about $10 or something, or $12 versus $25 to $40 or whatever it might be for a rig. You can get cheaper rigs, but they're not made as good. Okay. Yeah, so up to you guys whether you want to make it yourself. Might even be cheaper than that. Okay. Oh, I want to show you these things. This is the world's most brightest bead. I'll just charge this up as well for a sec. Pass them around. These things glow for long times. A lot of glow only lasts about less than a minute and it disappears. This will glow for an hour. Pass it around. Yeah. Now, no one's asked, do you use lead versus steel? Okay, so if you're going to use steel, there's two things you can do. If you use Rio, you can do two things. I learnt this over in WA. They use bicycle tube, like 16-inch or 20-inch BMX bike tube, and they cut a little flap in it and thread it sort of, it's got like a little cut, and they put the line through it and then pull it over the sinker. The problem is when it's going down, that it's getting speed and it's actually going up the line. So it didn't work the best, because I told him the sinker's ping, and he said, yeah, I know, that's why we put the rubber on there. So steel pings, okay? Now, Jason from up in Brisbane way, nice guy, he dropped a camera down in about 400 metres, or 300 something metres, catching flamies, I think it was, in cod. And he used steel, this is steel, and when it hit the bottom, the fish actually shot away from it. And with the lead, he dropped lead down, when the lead went down, the fish just came and ate the bait. So there is a difference. So my suggestion is, if you're going to use steel, I know it's cheaper, use, I don't know, heat shrink or wrap it in duct tape or something.
Silly question.
That's right.
Lead wrapped in aluminium. I was trying to make them out of aluminium pipe.
Okay, yep. Yeah, it'll probably still ping a little bit, but aluminium's pretty dull ping, if that makes sense, compared to steel. So it might not be too bad. I don't have time to do that. It's probably a good thing for the bottom if they break off. But yeah, you'll end up either losing it or using it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, polypop will work too. With lead. Doesn't melt too bad. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah. Well, this is the ultimate. So S-Tackle's donated one of these 2 bags tonight, 1 kilo one, and give it a crack because they are the best. Okay, they're I don't know what price they are, about around about $20 a pop. But the most important thing to remember is, firstly, boats cost a lot of money, right? And the fuel to go out that far for the day is going to cost you at least $200. That's $300. So don't skimp where you can't, where it's not worth it. Does that make sense? You want to catch fish, okay? So that's the cheap part, is actually that part, I believe. Oh, is that right? Yeah, it'll probably work all right too. Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. With lead inside. Oh, metal, okay. Yeah. Some people ask me about xylem sticks. Now, before we could get lights back 20 years ago, we used to use xylem sticks. They work really well. The problem is the pressure cracks them, and then you get green goo all over your boat. Okay, I haven't found one yet that's 400 metre proof. Okay, so, but they do work really well. So messy. I was talking about dress hooks. I didn't get to finish this part before. You can actually buy dress hooks as well that you can make your own rigs up with. They work out about it's pretty cheap, about $3.50, $4 a hook, dressed. And they're the perfect size. They do like 8, 9, 10, and 11. So perfect sizes. Stuart's going to open that up for me. Sorry? They do. They love it. Flamies love it too. Cod love it. Everything loves it. Pretty hard to get out, aren't they? Yeah. So you buy the hook like that. It's only like $3 or $4 each. So to make a rig up, still much cheaper than buying it off the shelf. Okay. I'll pass that around, Stu.
What makes a difference if they're Lumo? Or
So most of those are Lumo in one way or another, but it'd be just the head or something in there.
You're always going to have a bit of Luma stuff above it, but as well. So
Yeah, that's right. Using the tube or the bead, it may be. Yeah. Any questions on that so far? Oh, another thing we did, I brought this here to show you, is we have practiced with, again, trying to get that entire set bite a bit better by putting like some sort of soft plastic onto the circle hook. So just nipping it in the corner. They do get pulled off, unfortunately, but you didn't get a fish. So whether it be like the reef snacks from Squidgy, these glow blue, and they work really well. Okay, so the hook's just going through this part here and out this part here. It's actually just sitting up high near the eye of the hook, and your bait's down below it. Okay, pretty they're probably about $2.50 each or something like that. But again, entices a fish. You just got to keep thinking of something left field that's going to get them going, because you spend all that money getting there. Try and make it work. So, any questions on that so far?
Just a question on the
Yes.
UV
Yes.
torch.
Yes.
Do you actually?
No, I don't, because the sunlight charges up, Pete, during the day, so you don't need to do it.
Okay.
If you're fishing early morning, late afternoon, definitely yes, hit it real quick. UV torch is by far quicker than a normal torch for charging it. But it doesn't do anything to the line. The line is what they see as UV. We don't see it because it's the natural light goes through it and makes it UV. Don't know how they ask the fish that. Always say that as well. That's what the fish told them anyhow.
On that note, what about fishing these things at night?
Yeah, so we've caught flamies into the early night, but they tend to go off the bite like snapper do these days. They go off the bite by 6:30, 7 o'clock. But I will admit the bite, if you don't mind travelling back in the dark with whales, because it's the problem of the year, we've got whale time coming out, right? Whale hype. Yeah, they're here now, yeah. Oh, were they? Yeah, right. Yeah, they're late this year. Yeah. So, yes, dangerous speed humps. So we're always on whale alert. They're always like this, coming back in. So, two people looking at the front of the windscreen trying to see one in the dark. But if you don't mind hanging out, they really do come on the chew just on dark. We've had some phenomenal catches where we've gone from 5 or 6 fish for the afternoon to like 30 or 20 or whatever it might be, massive amounts.
Yeah.
Flamies are 5 fish a person, I think it is by memory. Yeah.
What about?
Sorry.
What about tide times for these?
Yeah, really good question too, mate. So the same with all the deep water species and most species. You will get a daylight bite, an evening bite, you get a high tide bite, a low tide bite, but you definitely get a best bites 2 hours after high, no matter what time of the day. So if it was high tide 10 in the morning, I'd be expecting the bite start about 11:30 and it'll go through at about 1:30.
And just another question on tides. Like obviously all our tide charts that they give us for the the bars they have on the coast. What do you allow for running like 20 mile out to sea? You're major to shelf. What sort of time?
That's a good question. Is it different out there to inside? I think once you're in the ocean, it's all the same. Does that make sense? I know as you go north, it gets a little bit different, and south a little bit different. But east to west, I don't think it makes much difference, if that makes sense. We just go off the seaway time and stick with that sort of thing as a general rule. So if it's 10 o'clock high, it's hopefully 10 o'clock high out there. Yeah. You can't tell by the height of the water, unfortunately. Yeah, Alamacs do, and they generally work on that 2-hour theory after high tide, or 1.5 hours after high tide. That's moon phase, yep. So, look, they say no run, no fun. It is true. If there's no current there, it's just straight down, you're hardly moving. We've had some days where we don't get a bite. We'll catch green eyes, that's it. Yeah, they bite all the time. But yeah, so look, I'd suggest that quarter moons are really good. If you've got a lot of current, that's the best time to fish the slackest current, if that makes sense, of that particular month. So halfway up moon or halfway down moon, that's going to be neat tides. But when the tides are on the full of the new moon, obviously it's going to be a lot more run in the evening or the morning, depending which way you go. Full moon's bigger in the morning and new moon's bigger at night. That's how it works. Yeah, I think so.
Can you estimate the current by what's in place?
You can estimate it when you're driving along, actually. No. So good question. Like we've gone out there, we've done the pearly thing, got our pearlies, and there's been ripping current, and we're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get any further, it's going to get worse, you know. It's raging. And then we'll say, oh, let's just go look for some new grounds, whatever. And then you'll see it when you're driving, all of a sudden you're tracking sort of, well, on that angle, all of a sudden it starts going further that way, you realise the current's picked up. But other times we've gone out to 280 metres and it's running, it's gone from 2.5, 3 knots on the 120 metre mark to 0.8. So we get a lot of back eddies here because of the way the coastline's shaped.
Let's say if you're in 30 metres and you're just running hard to the south.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's running out there.
It's not going to have any bearing on what's going on out there.
No. But the time of the year will. So if it's running hard in say December, in close, it's going to be running hard out there too. Trust me. Yeah, it's only around now, so from May to October or November, that it's pretty well stagnant. Like trickle.
A current chart that you can look at, is that worth looking at?
Yeah, so 100%. So the golden rule is when you wake up in the morning, because of the seaway, first thing is you check the swell. So if you're all ready to go and the swell's spiked from 1 metre to 3 metres overnight, you just don't go, because it's too dangerous in the dark. Wait till daylight, whatever you want to do, and maybe check it out. But let's say we're going out it's 2 hours run out to most of the areas out there, sitting on 20 knots. So we want to be leaving at about 4:30, 5. But when the whales get really bad, we purposely don't leave till about 5:30 because it's too dangerous. Particularly between 20 and say 65 metres. It's like the whale highway, and you've got 15 k's of obstacles. It's too dangerous. When it's daylight, it's all right. So if there's not too many whales around and it hasn't been too bad, then we'll leave at 4:30. But otherwise, we'll leave at 5:30.
With current as well, the windy app's actually quite good.
Yeah.
You can see the current
Correct.
2 days in advance.
That's correct, mate. So windy app's really good for current as long as you've got the windy app, the upgrade one.
Or even the free one.
Oh, it's got on there, sir.
The free one's got currents as well.
Oh, there you go.
It only goes 2 days in advance.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
There's no point
Yeah,
subscribing
yeah.
to it.
Yeah, okay. So, and BOM also has it as well. So if you jump on BOM, they'll have currents as well.
It's nicer with windy because you can see like in relation to land where it is.
Yeah, correct. That's right. Yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it?
It's a nicer
And you can actually see it coming down the coast or pushing out off the coast. So look at the next couple of days to give you some indication as well. So if you're going to get, say, Sunday, I'd be probably looking now for Sunday or tomorrow. Yeah.
And then so deep dropping is just generally better in the colder months?
We've done really well in December, January, when we can fish that neat tide or there's no run on the charts, as you were saying, mate. And if we got a 5 knot day or 10 knot day and there's not much current, we'd much rather deep drop in summer rather than troll for Marlin. Yeah.
So is that how you find your deep drop marks?
Yeah, originally that's right, mate. So originally, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was all about my mates would be on the back, say, any bait on the sounder, Dougie, any marlin? And then I go, oh no, because I started trying the boats. And then, and those days the GPS were pretty basic, you know. And the sounders were, some of the boats I went on had big sounders, or big boats, so I could utilise it. But I'd be looking at the bottom 20 metres or 30 metres the whole time. I don't care about what's up there, you know. So, but that's a good way of doing it. In summer, if you're into trolling as well, which we do, most of the time I'm not looking. If a marlin's going to jump on, it's going to jump on here, right? There's no difference. The line's at the back. Look at the bottom. Mark the bottom. Yeah, mark your screen. Okay. No one's asked yet about keeping the fish. So you've got to remember these fish are coming from cold water, probably 10 degrees less down there than up top. So you need to look after them. So whether you go to, and because they're so big, most guys don't have an esky big enough to put a 1.2 metre fish in. So you need to get at least a 1.2 or 1.5 metre bag, or if you've got fish wells, that's all good in the floor of your boat, or a big esky. You need something. Make an ice slurry up. When you get them, spike every fish you get. Okay, spike it in the head with a spike. It's an expensive dial tool, but it's a great tool. It's got a vent tool on as well. But spike them, and when you cut the throat of the fish, don't literally cut it in half. It works better if you actually cut the...
Yeah.
So, wherever his mouth is. Yeah. So, when you've got the gill cover here, and behind you've got sort of that piece that comes down like that, and that's joined on here, sort of thing. Put your knife around about here and cut this area here, or even up a bit high if you want, and just sort of stick it in there and just go around like that. Does that make sense? So you don't need to, if you cut that, it will bleed, but this is better. And there's a app called Ikijimi, yeah, which shows you every fish where to poke in the head. Okay, and it's generally in this area here. Okay, and you'll see a little indentation in the head normally, and just push it in and turn it a bit, and you'll see it bend up, and that's it. It's all over. And they'll generally change colour straight away.
Do you bother setting the wire down at the back though?
No, I don't. You can if you want to go all the way, but I'm gonna get my line back down there and catch a fish. Yeah, but you can, mate, if you want to. Yep.
You know, if you spike them, will they still pump?
That's a good question, and I've been asked by this many times, and when I get it, I keep forgetting to try it myself, which is the better way.
See, we always cut that.
Yeah.
That's the return artery to
Yes.
the heart. So
Yes.
while they're still alive, their heart's pumping salt
Yes.
water through their flesh.
Yes.
To clean the blood out.
Yes.
They're dead.
That's right. So cut and spike later, you're saying?
I don't know.
Yeah, no. Okay, if anyone's watching and you're a scientist, please tell us. Do you know, mate?
Oh, I don't know, I was just going to say I watched someone cut a towel and then I put the deck wash, he cut there and then put the deck wash in.
Yeah, downside, yeah.
And it blew all the blood out. I did it on the weekend. with
Oh, through the tail?
And it blew all the blood out through the towel and
Cool.
it just went clear. with the
Yes.
deck wash, so
Yeah, okay.
that worked.
Yeah, that's not too bad too, as long as the deck wash is not too hot. But yeah, that's a good idea too, mate. So the gentleman was saying before, do we cut or spike first? So I'd normally spike and then cut. Because I think that when you spike them, although they're sort of dead, I think the heart's still going. Yeah, and then to cut it after that. Whichever way works, I guess, yeah. Okay, so straight in ice slurry, lid down, zipper up, whatever, and then get your line back down there. Actually, we get the line back down there, then do it while the line's going down. So you've got 2 minutes to play around. Okay, time is essential. So any other questions on that sort of 280, 250 metre mark? Okay.
Do you have to cut those gills both sides?
No, just one side. I don't know. Do you do both sides?
Just one.
Yeah, one side. You don't cut. Spike. Okay. Yeah, and a lot of guys do that too. A lot of guys. Spike, I think, is the most important thing. Yeah. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the gentleman's saying and this gentleman knows, this spike, a spike only. Yeah.
It's just sometimes you should cut the last gill with the scissors.
Yeah, that works as well. And you get the proper shears downstairs to do that. They do a lot up in the reef, they do it a lot. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's just play around, but it's much better than just throwing it on the ice. Throwing the ice is still good. Throwing it on the floor is not good. Okay. And I've had this problem before where we filled the bag up or the box up, and we've got fish, just wet towel over them or whatever. You can in the shade, push them up under somewhere. Yeah, not in the cab though. Okay, so we've done that depth. Now we're going to go out to the last part, which is in the deep water. So now it all changes. So we've gone we've gone from 40 k's to 60 k's or whichever way north. But we've gone much further out east-west, but we've gone north a bit. But once we're there, we want to go out to the canyons. So we've got canyons and we've got big rocks out here. I call them meteorites. To me, they look like meteorites. I could be wrong. We're talking Jimmy's Mountain or Jimmy's Rock, Riviera Grounds, and Little Riviera Grounds. They're like three, if you look on Navionics, it's like three big rocks that landed on the ground. There's no hard bottom around them, not for a little while, and a little way, sorry. And it's all been unscathed from the current around them. Okay, there's like big, and they're big. They're like probably the bloody dinosaur killers. They're like about, and if you look around Australia, there's nothing else like it except for off the Gold Coast where three of them landed, all in the bottom. And they're about 1.5 k to 3 k long by half a k wide, so quite big, and about 100 metres high. Okay, and these particular places hold fish, and as do the canyons off Moreton, the canyons off Point Lookout, and the canyons off Tweed Heads. So it's natural bottom where we've gone from that to that, and then we've got these canyons just go like that, and you go out 200 metres and you've gone from 500 to 1,000 metres in some areas, so Tweed especially. So you've got to fish along that edge, okay? And that edge, all of our snapper, kingies, all that sort of stuff gone, and we've now got bar cod, bass groper, blue-eye trevally, and gemfish, and this little pink perch thing that we catch, like a scorpion cod sort of thing. That's delicious. And a couple other species. So that's, and harpooker. So that's the main species we're going to catch now, and they're all big. So except for the little sea perch, you get the little scorpion cod thing. It's 2 kilos. Everything else is, I don't think you get anything under about 8 kilos. I've caught flame snapper up to about 400 metres, 420 maybe, 380 used to be, and I've got a bit deeper now, I've got a bit deeper, but they seem to stop there. Now you do get rubies out in the deeper water. I haven't found them yet, but I know they get them off Tweed. Just haven't lucked out yet. And they get a lot down south off Ballina area and Brunswick, and they get them north of Brisbane. And they get them all out the coastline then. I've caught heaps up north, just not out here. But we've got customers that do get them down off Brunswick, and they're big. They're like 30 kilos. So they're like a big flamey. No big tail on the back. They're just a V-tail, but they're more boxier shape rather than slender. They're quite chunky. So they're not much bigger that way, but they're bigger that way. Okay? They're really good. Yeah. So, and they get iron jaw. Is it iron jaw?
Up north, yeah.
What's the other one we get down here? I think it is iron jaw. There's another. Yeah, get Alphonse as well. Sorry, that's the other one. Alphonse are like, a sweeper. Your most hated fishing close, except for grinners. So they're like a red sweeper, but taste delicious. And they're really easy to catch on jigs, but hard doing it because you're in 500 metres deep or 400 metres deep. But they take baits too. And they're quite chunky. So a fish that big is probably about 4 kilos. They're just chunky, like a red piranha shape. Yeah. So anyhow, they're the species we catch out there. Now, if you're fishing exactly the same way, you're just upping the ante from that to a 2 kilo or to 3 kilo or 4 kilos. There's a lot of 4 kilo out there. So your rod's going to give you a bit of a workout, and so is your speed going down. So most of these electrics do have like a little bit of a motor that sort of cuts in, or I don't know what it does, but it sort of controls the speed a bit, but you still may need to fez it with your finger on the way down, especially deploying it. And when you deploy something even 1 kilo, you must put the sinker in last and the hook's in first. Because if you throw the sinker over and that hook's going to come past you, you're going to get done on the way through. So sinker last. And we try and put all the hooks in the water, and just the momentum of the boat, just that last little bit going forward, will pull the hooks out a bit away from the boat and then throw the sinker. And at the same time, we've got a thumb there with it ready to free spool, and as soon as that sinker hits the water and takes up the hooks, then we let go of it, and hopefully it doesn't overrun. Most of these reels do have also a little nut on the side to control that tension as well. Yeah, so it doesn't overrun. So you've got the brake, and you've also got that happening. And it takes about 4 minutes to get down with, say, 3 kilos of lead in about 500 metres deep. About 4 minutes. So you've got plenty of time to talk to your mates, work out where you are, cut up the bait, put away the fish from last drift, and get ready for the fish. Now, when you get a fish on out there, the bites are a lot more aggressive and a lot more bigger. So the rod's now already bent like that with a sinker on it, and when you hook the fish up, you'll see it bite. You'll still see it bite, and then it loads up quite hard. And if you get 2 jump on at the same time, it's very, very hard. That's time to push it up. Now, most reels in the bigger size, like the 9,000s or bigger, even the 9,000 will still stall. And in divers, you're talking 1,200 size or bigger. They will pull it up not too bad. They'll be able to fight 2 30-kilo fish on the same line. And when you get up to the 12,000 Beastmaster or 1,800 in the diver, they tend to have the power just to lift them up. They still do stop occasionally, but not really much. But if you get a 70-kilo bass groper on, or a 100-kilo bass groper, it will stall most reels for a bit, and they fight really hard at the start, like really hard. So they hold their ground. Stewie took one on a jig, and took 40 minutes before you even got him a meat off the bottom.
That doesn't hurt the rod when it stalls.
No, it's only momentarily. But if you hooked it on, say, one of these smaller ones here that holds 600 metres, first you probably not have enough line really to do it out there, but you may. They'll probably really struggle, you mate, to help it.
So
but those ones there,
you can help them too.
yeah, you can help them, yeah. But it's hard. Give them a hand. But the 9,000s or the 1,200 divers or whatever, or the 1,800s and 12,000 in the Shimano, those bigger ones will, and say Mia 9 or Mia 15, they'll pull it up not too bad. Okay. They'll still hurt a little bit.
They'll spot
yep.
Tenacom 1000.
Yeah, so Tenacom 1000 are probably in between the two. The two, yeah. So you may have to, if you get a big bass grabber, it may struggle a bit, but it'll work though. Yeah. It definitely works.
When they stall, does it reset the meters?
No, it doesn't. They're not a brushless motor, so when they get too hot, it's only for about 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, they just stop when it cools down a bit and they keep going.
And then it goes again, and then it'll stop maybe again.
It'll never lose pressure.
Yeah.
Like it'll stop, run in, it'll still hold it.
It's sorry, mate.
It's like a torque setting on your drill then, is it?
It's a bit like that, yeah, correct, a bit like that, that's right, a bit like that. So it's all built in and it knows what it's doing. You just got to not stress when the fish is sitting there bouncing around and it's not doing anything. It's like, all of a sudden it goes again. So anyhow, it'll happen to you if you fish in that depth. How many guys do you reckon are going to get out to that next stage? More than half of you. So give it a crack. It's really good fun. And at Kirk, you've done a fair bit out there, mate. You know what it's like. And the big fish, probably average size 20 kilo, I guess, is average cod size or blue eye or whatever. And they're beautiful eating fish. We catch 70-kilo bass groper, and they're shot by the time you get to the top. Their eyes are hanging out of their head, and you're never going to throw them back because they're not going to live. And they are too good to eat to throw back. So a 70-kilo fish tastes as good as a 10-kilo.
Do you let them sit for a day or two before you?
Exactly. Yeah. So a golden rule. So some people leave them on the ice for 2 days. I like to actually fillet them because I believe the fillet will leach out a lot more moisture. So I fillet, skin, cut into chunks about the size of this projector, sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay, and then or a bit half that size, bricks. Say brick size, brick size. And then I sit them in I got a big stainless steel tray in my fridge that really smells at the back. Stu knows about that one. And I sit them there covered in Glad wrap for about 2 days or 3 days even.
Okay.
And they'll be in there dry when they put them in there. And then when I go back 2 days later, there's like the water's halfway up the fish. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you just chuck them straight in the freezer from that point?
Yeah, so then cryovac it or whatever you want to do. Yep, correct.
So you leave them sitting in their own juice?
Look, I do tip it out every day. I do tip it out actually. Yeah, I do.
I read an article on keeping
Yep.
fish one day and they said that's a no-no.
Yeah,
People
it smells,
sit it on a
right?
plate, they also put a saucer over it.
Yep.
And let the fish hang upside down.
Yep.
For every hour it sits in its own juice, you're losing a day out of the longevity of the fillet.
It's probably about correct, mate, too, by the way, because it can smell. If you don't take that juice out after 2 or 3 days, it has a smell to it.
We
Still
found-
tastes good, but
We found catching,
yeah,
your snapper pearlies and so on that, the 50-metre mark sort
Yep.
of thing. Take them home, the second day they're better.
yeah. Second day is always better, 100%.
Saucer
Yep.
upside down so they're not in their own juice.
Yep. Yeah, you know when you cook fish the
day
first.
you come home, think you got fresh fish, it's better the second.
Yeah, that's right, and we all want to eat the fish as soon as we get home because you're hanging to try it, right?
It
Um,
improves, but I mean, that's
yeah.
their own juice, and that's why I was interested when you saying that.
Yeah.
Sitting up on a
Yeah.
oven
Yeah, and
tray.
I tip it out every day. Yeah. So if you catch a fish and cook up that night, you'll know it's a bit bent up and a bit like rubbery sort of thing. That's because it's so fresh, right? And if you cook up blue eye or bass groper or bark cod first night, it actually the fry pan just fills up with water and it becomes like a rubber. It's terrible. Terrible. Weird texture it has, mate. I don't know what it's like, snake or something, you know. It's weird.
So I digress off that for a second.
Yes.
We found down here your tusk fish,
Mm.
beautiful eating out
Mm.
here. But once you go up the Great Barrier Reef,
Don't taste as good?
no.
No, I think it's
Some
good.
are really like you fill of the mountain.
Yeah.
Actually dried out and rubbery and they're not a good,
Yeah.
not good tasting. So
Yeah.
I put it down whether is it the coral?
Could be the coral, but I think it's more the water temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, cooler water, nicer fish. So the further south you go, the fishing species gets less, but the tasting gets better. Yeah. So it's definitely the water temp, mate. Yep. So guys, get back to the preparing the fish. So we've got in those chunks, cryovac it, or whatever you want to do. But we do sell these sheets downstairs, which my wife's Japanese. So when we speak to the sashimi guys over in Japan, they use this like it looks like plastic wrap, but it's not. It's breathable wrap sort of stuff. And all the chefs use it. They wrap their fish in it. So when we catch fish now, especially when it's sashimi, not going to sashimi those fish, so but it would probably work on these fish. If you wrap it in it, within 24 hours, it's drawn all of the moisture out of it, and it's then firm and nice and whatever you want to do with it. Yeah, so if you ever give it a crack, give it a crack. Sorry, mate.
Is that like the dry age bags?
It's like I guess it's like dry age bags, but it actually does. If you leave it in there for more than 2 days, it actually starts to go dry. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's cool though. So we're back out to there in the deep water. So what we're doing now, I found that if you stick up, so it drops off from like 380, say, to 500 really quick, not even 1K out. So maybe 500 meters from west to east, 380, 500, and then keep going down even steeper. So we do a drift always on the top. So if you look on your, I'll draw it again. Sorry about drawing a lot, but just real quick, we're nearly finished. But your map will look like, this is the chart. And this is the contour. It may go like this, and like this, and there'll be like these ravines sort of thing. Like this sort of thing. Okay, so we'll try and do a drift. This might be 350 here and 400 here and 500 here. So what we'll do, and then it might be 800 here. And that might be on a scale 500 metres in east to west. So we'll do our first drift for bar cod. So bar cod will be the first species up the shallowest. Okay, you get the odd blue eye, but you get mainly bar cod. And we'll try and do a drift down through here first on the outside edge. And we may do another drift again, wherever it may be. In this area here, we might drift down through this area here like this. And then the next drift will come up again and we'll go down just a bit deeper, 380 metres or 400. And then 420 and then 480, and that's how we'll do it. And the species are going to go from bar cod here on this one, maybe bar cod here, but starting to get the odd blue eye. This one here is going to be blue eye and bass groper, and same deal here. And you won't get as many bar cod, even though you've only gone 250 metres away.
So the ravines coming in, are you pulling line in, letting it back out?
No, so I know you're going across these ravines, so it might be 350 in general, but this might be 380, 350, 380. I hope you get your fish before then, or you're going to get snagged up and lose your sinker. Yeah, it's pretty how it works.
Yeah, always try to drift out or like down a drop. You never want to drift up a drop because it's you just drag stuff and snag stuff.
Yeah. So if you had an easterly wind blowing, worst one ever. You'll just get snagged all the time. So we try and from if you got a westerly blowing, not even going to be out there in a westerly, but you got to say northwest, lightly wind blowing, and you're dropping down over, it's not too bad. So you always let them line out together a bit deeper. You don't want to bring it in shallower. Get caught up.
Doug, have you ever used that jigging function on the...
Yeah, good call. Look, I don't, but my Chinese mate does, and he's really good at it too. Yeah, but not so much in that. In the 280 metres, and on the flamey areas he does, and smashes the kings and flamies. I was going to show you actually something here, Kirk. So we've got a couple of customers, and I've tried it but haven't had luck yet. But they'll rig up, and it's not much dearer than a sinker, but they'll rig up what is a bit dearer? They'll rig up a kilo or 900 gram lead jig, which is Shimano, this one, full Lumo, and they sink much faster than that shape. Okay, this is like through the water, and then they'll use the jig function maybe, or they'll just have it on the bottom, just dancing around, and they'll catch cod on it, or blue eye. Mate's called blue eye on too. Yeah. So, and you can get all different colours, like all Lumo different colours, you know. So that's an alternative too. If you want to try something different. But we jig there by hand and electric. So if you want to jig by electric for the bass groper and that, it's not like kingy fast type jigging. It's slow. And because the jigs are fairly heavy, it's quite hard in your hand. But when we're doing it by hand, you just got to toughen up and do it. Then when you get the fish on, I saw Stewie. I've got to tell you real quickly, guys, this is amazing. I know we're running out of time. We're out jigging off Point Lookout in the canyons off Point Lookout, 440 metres deep. All jigging, whole lot of us. Stewie hooks up and he doesn't move. And I just dropped my jig straight down because I thought it at the bottom. He's like, don't drop your jig down. I'm like, you'll be right, Stewie, mate.
If you want the real story, come see me afterwards. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. So Stewie's, no, it's a fish. So we're all still jigging around him, right? And then after about 35, 40 minutes, he got it off the bottom, and it started to come up, probably, how far did you go, 20 metres?
35 metres.
35 metres off the bottom, massive. And then Tim on the other side of the boat was jigging away, and then Stewie, all of a sudden his line pops, but because you got so much pressure on the line, it still feels like you got the jig on there, maybe, you know. So Stewie's actually, was there the jig on? No, the jig's gone.
Didn't feel anything like it.
Yeah. Anyhow, in the meantime, Timmy's out there and he goes, oh, I'm on. Yeah, I'm on as well. So Tim's fighting this fish. And then maybe about 35 minutes later, more quicker than what Stuart did turning off the bottom, pulls up this monster bass groper that was 75 kilos or something. And Stu looks out the side. He goes, that's my fish. And it's got his jig hanging out the side of it. And Timmy's going, so this fish, I don't know how it happened, but
I know exactly how it happened.
I guess it somehow Timmy might have, his line might have hit Stu's and popped it.
It did. It did.
Or
it did.
Or it broke Stu's line.
Nah. The braid's very abrasive.
Yeah.
So I felt it swim that way. So like it changed from that angle to very slightly that angle over to the other side. And you got to think, you got 580 metres of line out. It's a long way that way. So the little bit of angle, and he's jigging on the other side, and I felt him hit it. And he reckons he got a hit or whatever, and his braid cut my leader right on the jig.
But the amazing...
Yeah, I'm not going to let it go. And then his hooks just hooked on my jig, tin
Very
ass,
sad point.
and then dragged it all the way up. And when it hit the deck, his jig's just flowing out, and mine's still in there. So.
Yeah. But this fish has cruised around.
Well, yeah. I'll get a big one this year.
Yeah. So it's cruised around with this kilo 900 gram jig hanging out of its mouth, and just ate another one. Like they're tough. Anyhow.
Didn't eat it, but yeah.
Oh, I did recently. Yeah. So anyhow, so it's good fun doing it, but that's what you got to learn to do. Work your way east drift, okay? And the contours are really good. They're long. You could actually nearly drift, say, down Tweed Way. You could probably nearly drift for about, I don't know, 2 Ks, and catch fish all the way.
What are you looking for on the sounder, Doug?
I'm looking for fish. Yeah. So they'll just come up as normally green colour on the sounder. So do the green eye sharks too, by the way. So sometimes it's very hard to tell between green eye sharks and bar cod. But generally they're fairly close to the bottom and they're stacked up. I didn't tell you before, but flamies come up like a big school of bait fish. So flamies will be this red ball, massive, tight red ball, which you think is a school of bait, but it's the flamies. They're compact, they're tight, they must swim around each other, and that's how they are. And they'll be in areas, so there'll be a ball there. When you go through, bang, 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 you got them on your rod, sorry. And then you get a little bit further, and all of a sudden there'll be a scattered few fish, which may be snapper or kingies or whatever, the odd flamey or bar cod. And then all of a sudden there'll be another tight red patch again, and that's all of a sudden you get flamies again. So they're stacked in tight balls, and they're normally about 10 metres off the bottom or 20 metres off the bottom, and they definitely go down to your slack line on the bottom. Okay. Any questions at all, folks?
Is there anything past that 500, like 500 bag?
Yeah, so we've been out to Mix Mountain, which is about another 20k out, because it's like goes down to like 1,200 metres or more, and then it comes up to 800 and rises up 300 metres. That is an actual mountain, so 1,000-foot high mountain, and it's out here and it's quite big. It's really hard to fish because of the depth. You've got at least you have to use a Mia, because you've got to have like 1,400 metres of braid, right? Unless you're fishing about 800 to 900 metres deep. And if you go to the edge, it's 1,000 metres deep, 1,100. And if you go to the east side, it drops down about 1,300. So you've got a lot of line out. You've got to use, we're using, I think, 4 or 6 kilos of lead. I can't remember. I haven't done it for about 10 years. It was just too hard. And when we saw the rod bite, and we didn't pull up, but there could have been anything. And the fish were stacked on the bottom. I mean, like 30 metres thick. So some of the shows you get out in these canyon areas are massive. I mean, like 30, 40 metres thick of fish. Yeah. And you catch blue eye. I think the limit's 2.
I think it's 2, yeah.
Yeah, 2 per person.
And I think it's something weird like bar cod and bass are the same.
Yeah, you got like, I think combined 5
Yeah.
cod, I think it is. 5 cod per person. I don't know if there's a cod boat category. I don't think there is.
I don't think there is, no.
No. But you never get undersized cod. Oh, sorry. Go back right to the beginning. The pearl perch area, 120 metres. You will catch little bar cod there, but never undersized. They're always 50, 60 centimetre size. I think it's still stupid, like 38 centimetres or something. for bar cod, which is way too small.
Does it taste change? Does that get
No, it doesn't. No, this is the amazing part. The big cod tastes as nice as the little cod. But the flakes just get a lot bigger. Very moist, and as long as you leave it those 2 or 3 days. And very, very nice taste. And one way I like to do it, which I do for mackerel as well, is we try and cut it, I guess, about, say, 30 mil thick or 20 mil thick at the thinnest. And about 30 mil is good. And low heat, high heat at the start. And we normally just had a mixture of garlic, salt, and pepper on it, and rub it in. And then a shallow fry, real shallow fry, not much oil at all. And then sizzle it so it's like, you'll see the flesh actually cook through nearly halfway, about a third of the way. At that point, we flip it over and do the other side. And then once that's nearly there, then what we do is we put balsamic vinegar on, a really nice balsamic vinegar, and over the top, and that drizzle over the side. And then that, because it's already cooked in that second half, we then flip it over on the balsamic side, and then put balsamic on the other side. And then put a little bit of butter in there, make like a gist, whatever you call it. and it sort of goes a bit black on the both sides, not burnt black, but just the balsamic colour. And by that time it's cooked, it's just maybe tiny 1 mil raw in the middle, maybe, but it's just about, by the time you get it out, it's cooked through. And then pour the balsamic over the top, the thick one you've made, over the top of it, and just big flakes. It is so good. Try it. Yeah. I know, it's really good. But the cod's nice. The bait's out there. Bait on the bottom, do you mean?
Yeah, no, what are you using?
Oh, using mullet fillets again. Mullet fillets and pilchard, same deal. Or squid and pilchard. You don't get many green eyes beyond here. They stop at about 400. They'll be in this first drift maybe, but they're more inside 350 inside of it.
When you're hitting that far out,
Yep.
you talked about making the most of it. How much bait do you take? Like, what do you take? A couple
No, like fillets of mullet, 5 packets,
Yeah,
which
5
is
packets, so
10 fillets.
5 fish. Yeah.
Yeah. It's enough fish. So, that's why we get the pearlies and then we get the other fish. Yeah. So get pearlies first, and then sometimes we'll skip past the flamies if we're going to go deep dropping or jigging out the deep, and just get the blue eye or cod. And then other times we won't do that, and we'll just go chase the flamies and whatever else with them. Depends on the day, depends on the wind, depends on the current, and depends on time as well.
A couple of guys out, or 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, you got to make it worthwhile, because otherwise you can't all that way. Yeah. It's still to go by yourself. Yeah, get your limit. And as I said, and that's why the fishery is so good still, is because really there's probably, there's 40 people here, but you're probably going to get maybe, I reckon, say between Brisbane and Tweed, there would be lucky to be, of all the boats, maybe 100 to 150 fish days of the year combined. Because it's just so good, because the weather's so bad, Yeah, so we might get out a big year for us to be probably 10 trips maybe?
Yeah, 10, maybe 12.
10 or 12 trips for us, but we're doing a lot more than other people,
Yeah. What's that, a 30, 40 foot boat? Or like,
No, it's 6 metre, 7 metre.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and we get mates' boats,
Yeah.
35 foot, but generally our boat, yeah.
So that's sort of 10, 12 trips a year.
And that's about the weather you're going to get, and it's a lot of fish. That's the thing too. You can go out and get 4 bar cod or 2 blue eye that are 20, 30 kilos each.
Yeah.
And if you've got 3 or 4 guys on the boat, really it's enough fish for, if you ate it twice or 3 times a week, for probably a month. Because a lot of fish. Yeah. So that's another good thing about it, is that you're not tempted to go every day, because you get lots of fish. Good return. Yeah. So it's good, and I love finding new grounds. Every time we find new grounds and we get really good fish on it, to me that's a buzz, Yeah. So driving the boat sometimes better than catching the fish, because you're finding it for the guys. Okay, I think that's about it on everything I had to say. That's about, oh, just in line. Another thing too, I don't care if you buy a cheap line, whatever line you get, this is a good line, but you want to have a roll of at least 600 metres in your boat. Okay, electric reels are very quick to spool up. You just push the button and it winds itself on. And if you're going out 60 Ks and you get prop cut off at 300 metres down or 400 metres down, and you've only got 300 metres on your line, you got to come back. And it's a long way to come back in fuel usage when you could have just spooled up and dropped back down again. So small, hide it under the seat or somewhere, but keep it on the boat. If you go to it by hand, I'd say go home, you know, but when it's electric, it's easy. And it might cost you $150 or whatever it is, or $200, but it's worth the exercise.
What size braid do you recommend?
Oh, look, you don't really, on those size reels, the max we'd use would be 100, but generally 80 pound, and even 65. And the little reels are 50s enough. I don't think, I've been dusted on the bottom, but I don't think I've ever broke the braid on a fish yet. I've had trouble breaking the braid and I get snagged up, really big problem. Even 80 pound, you can't break it. You got to nearly tie it to the bollard and drive it off, you know. The boat's like this. And your mate's having a good time, or they might be getting peed off because their lines are going shooting in the front, the current, but you'll rank it up. So you don't need more than 80 pound. And the thinner it is, the less everything works better, you know, less sink or whatever it may be. Yeah. So we use 80 pound, most of us spill at 80 pound. And those bigger reels like the 9,000 or the 9,000 divers, us Shimano and 1,200 size diver, both are around about 900 to 1,000 metres of 80, which is going to give you, hopefully if you do get busted off, at the worst case scenario, you will get two drops out of one line. You're running it tight on the bottom though, on the second time. The smaller size, like a 1,000 diver or 750, all the plays are about 600 metres. Okay, of 80. Yep. Okay, I think that's it. So I just want to get out there, explore, find new ground, give it a crack, and please let me know how you go, if you don't mind. Any other questions at all?
You ever put a squid jig down?
Yes, I have. My dream's to catch a big Humboldt or big squid. I had one of those real big squid jigs, which we can't buy anymore. It was about a 25 centimetre size with prongs about, I don't know, probably 50 mil across at the back. And I put that on the snap at the top. I dropped it down quite a few years ago. Hit the bottom, and I was catching other fish, and I was in about 400 metres. And then anyhow, when I looked at it, I just went to check it, and there's actually a big chunk out of the middle. So I don't know if a squid bit it out or a fish bit it out, but I'm guessing it's a squid because they'd take a big piece of plastic out like that. So it had a perfect big cut out like that in the bottom of it. And it's about this, it's probably about the size of a banana in size. It's bit out. So I don't know what it was. Since then though, I've got these squid jigs which we bought from a company recently that are about 600 grams, I guess they are. They're quite heavy, and they're all joined together. It's prong, 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 prong sort of thing. So I'm going to give it a crack on the bottom, but I'm scared of getting hooked on the bottom. Trying to work out what I'm going to do yet. Yeah. But I'd love to catch one of those big squid. Yeah. They're out there. Yeah. Okay. Anything else at all, folks? No? Okay, everyone's good. Everyone's ready to roll. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So you got the next 6 months, go hard. You got 6 months of the best time of the year to do it. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Now tonight, we got a little bit more, because there's a few people we added up another $400 to the $500 to the gear. So the first prize I think is around, and also your bags too. So your bags are at retail about $200 worth I think this time. So we've got I think first prize about $650, $700 worth of stuff. Mainly rigs and rigging. This is in the middle of the pack nearly, number 16. Well done, mate. this one on there. Oh, that's it. Yep. Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's like Lewis. Yeah,
Thanks.
the
mate.
rigs are expensive.
Thank you.
So next one's still about $300 worth. Down the back, number 36.